All right, first off, thank you guys for being here tonight. I want to start by thanking our great fans that showed up. It was a fantastic turnout in a sea of blue, which was huge. I appreciate them making the travels over, and I think they were monumental in our success. Our players could sense their energy and their pride, and it was so much fun. So thank you to our fans, and cannot wait to see them this Thursday night. National television game, but we got to fill the Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium at 6:30 versus a conference opponent, and it's going to be a huge one. But look, all in all, great defensive performance. Anytime you have 4 takeaways, it's absolutely stunning, and it's phenomenal to watch them go out there and play. And I think the thing you got to see with that is the effort by the guys and multiple guys making plays. So it's not like, hey, just this one guy. In fact, a lot of you guys got to see guys that we weren't expecting to go out there, even the preseason, even last week, that went out there and made plays. So quite pleased with that. The offense is not up to our standard or par. I was obviously pleased that we did not turn the ball over, but we have to be more efficient. And it starts with me. I thought our run game wasn't as clean as it needed to be. Those safeties came down and made a lot of plays. Offensive line, we got to continue to block better up front. I thought the guys ran the ball hard. But the offensive line, the tight ends, and the wide receivers, we got to block better collectively, and it starts with me making sure we're where we need to be schematically. We're going to quickly study this, and we know with a quick turnaround and Navy coming to our place, we've got a high task at hand, but cannot wait for that next challenge.
Ryan, in the offseason, you talked about your depth, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We got to see some of that in your defensive backs. Just how are you feeling about just the things you're able to do with that many guys that can play in that secondary?
Well, that's huge. Look, Coach Barnes and Coach Clark do a phenomenal job with our secondary. And I think being able to see multiple guys go in there, you guys would even see on a drive, another guy come in. And I think we're very fortunate with that. And it starts with the development by our coaching staff. They do a great job. Credit to the defense staff. But those players, to go out there and understand the system and to be dialed in, it's a huge luxury, Frank. It's one of those that, over the years, anybody that's been around would sit here and say the depth in the secondary has not always been what we can hold our hat on, but they're all interchangeable, and it's been quite pleasant. Obviously, we got a long season, so we got to continue to battle and see where we can take this thing.
It seemed like Seth definitely stepped up with, like you said, the running game kind of struggling. Just how did you judge and grade his performance?
Yeah, look, Seth did a really nice job. I think anytime you can play a clean game as a quarterback, and I hate to use the word field manager or game manager, but that's what you want, right? A quarterback. And I think he was 72%. You guys know I don't follow the stats much. No interceptions, a couple drops, and did what he needed to. Those safeties came down pretty hard. They played a 4-press coverage where those safeties start at 10 yards, and then there's times. By the time the back got to the line, that safety was there. And so we had to do a better job of maybe some RPO game and making those guys attack. But I was pleased with Seth's performance. But he'll be the first to say, hey, here are the 5 plays I could have fixed, and we'll get those fixed and move forward in the right direction.
Coach, talk about Chandler Martin. He makes the move over from ETSU, leads the team in tackles tonight, and really looks the part after stepping up from a lower level.
Yeah, look, Chandler Martin's a guy that we were so excited to get and be a part of our program. He's smart, he's tough, he can run, and he can hit. I think you guys are seeing that he can play physical. And we're pleased because he can play a lot of our linebacker positions. He's not just sitting there. If you guys noticed tonight on the field, he played the Sam, Mike, and the Will, which I think is an attribute for his intelligence. And it's been fun. He's an added piece to this puzzle with what we want, our depth on defense. We talked about the rotation in our secondary, but we were able to rotate some linebackers, and it's a great thing. And Chandler Martin's a huge part of our success so far on defense. We've got a long ways to go and continue to work.
What did you learn from your team that you may not have known coming into this game?
Yeah, I think anytime the ability to go, this is our first unknown, right? Like we did training camp at our facility. This is the first time, we did stay in Memphis, so I can't say this is our first true away game, but it was. There is challenges to getting on a bus and driving an hour and a half like you're playing a high school game and going playing college football. New locker room, new field, and all those things. And I challenged them this morning before we, this early afternoon before we left. I said, you guys got to have immense focus, and it's got to be a 4-quarter focus. And I don't ever like to harp on the past, but can we maintain that focus for an entire game? And I thought they did. And it started, you guys sometimes maybe think this is coach speak or corny, but in that hotel room before we took the bus, it was the best I've ever seen their eyes. They were just sitting there, and I don't sit here saying they all hang on every word I say, but their eyes, and it told that, hey, these guys are dialed in and focused. And what I appreciate is they care, and they love being a part of this thing. They have fun. there were guys that didn't even get into the third quarter that were celebrating and enjoying being around each other. And I told you guys for a long time, you like every team, but man, this one's got something special, and it's that burning desire to go out there and compete. And the only way I can ever get to show the world how lucky I am is the performances on Saturdays and hopefully on a Thursday. And I'm so pleased with the guys' effort and their mindset and their approach, and they're going to have to be even better this week.
Along those lines, it's, I think, a little under 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. They're driving down the field, and you guys call timeout. And I'm just curious, this defense hasn't let someone in the end zone yet this year. And what was the discussion there? I'm curious just what that was, what that mood was like.
Yeah.
Was there a sense of pride of, hey, like.
Well, Mark, there'll always be that sense of pride on the defense, and but it was not a statistical thing. It was a sub error, and so I wish I could sit here and play. Yeah, we're gonna shut. No, it was so. Put the blame on me. Probably a substitution error. We didn't have the right personnel out there. We kind of subbed the guy. If you guys noticed, they were lining up quick and then looking to the sideline a lot, so they weren't subbing. When they subbed, we subbed. But that was something that was 1,000% a substitution thing that we had to get fixed. So it wasn't like, hey, timeout, let's get refocused. And no, I'm glad we did, and I'm glad they continue to step up. But
You called it, the turnover part absolutely stunning, but you were kind of talking about it in training camp. You thought this defense maybe had some playmakers that people didn't know about. So just, was it actually stunning? Because it feels like you kind of sensed this defense.
Well, look, I mean, when it's stunning, it's like I'm excited, I'm giddy. Everybody says, oh. And look, I know the fans want to see all these points and, deep shots, but, man, I think that most of the fans would say, oh, we'll take those takeaways all can. You get pick six, forced fumbles, multiple guys making plays on the ball. And that, I talked about, you guys always said, hey, Ryan, Terry, I asked about how explosive are we? Is it just offense guys? No, it's all units. And I think we got to see some of those guys that can go and make plays on defense tonight. And we're going to have to continue to do it, right? Shots on the ball, go be aggressive. I think a lot of times last year, some of our guys, DJ Bell last year, if that ball was thrown over his head, he would. Now he's going up and trying to make a play on it. I think Diego Brumfield, like name that you guys probably don't. I mean, they tried to pick on him. He had 5 PBUs and played excellent. And so I think stunning. I don't know. Maybe I was just lost for words, Mark. But yeah, I'm quite thrilled. If we get 4 turnovers every game and 0 takeaways, 0 turnovers by our offense, then it's gonna be a hell of a season. But let's just get through tonight and see where we can go tomorrow.
Was that said though, was that kind of point of emphasis this week, especially like the forced fumbles, since you didn't get any takeaways in week 1?
Yeah, I mean, we spent all that darn money on that cool belt they wear on the sideline. I mean, at least let's bring it out. And so, no, we talk about it. And when I talk, if you guys ever, the radio show, I talk about what our keys to victory are. And, tonight our keys to victory were, let's have immense focus. And I was pleased because you guys know, dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds, much less you guys, right? It's hard to focus for an extended period of time. And college football games are 3.5 hours plus a bus ride over and being dialed in a new environment. I mean, that band was right behind. I mean, gosh darn, I can barely hear out of my right ear. Their band was loud and good for them. But so focus was one of them. Then the next one was, right, own the football. And I thought we did a nice job with that offensively and made clean decisions in our return game. And then take the ball. And, man, we talked about it. I said, guys, I want it every time they come to the sideline. Let's talk about it in a variety of ways. And you got to practice it. And sometimes it comes, sometimes you're lucky and it comes in droves, right? And I think that was one of those things we were doing. And then the last thing I said was finish. And that was the 3 keys to victory. And we were able to finish the game on the way we wanted to. It was not an intention. We could have easily taken delayed knees. I wasn't sure if Coach Jones was going to call timeouts. So it was not an intentional score. Even if they told me, that we were not going to kick the extra point. It was just one of those, out of respect to them. They got a lot of players, and they got some Memphis kids that we pull for and wish them well the rest of the year.
Did it looked like Sincere came back in the game, right? Any update on Davion Ross?
Not sure yet. I mean, it's a quick turnaround. Hopefully I'll know more this week. But, yeah, I mean, hopefully he's okay. He's a great young man, obviously. One-time starter for us in the secondary and our kickoff returner, so we'll see where he's at.
It seemed like Anthony Linebacker had 4 catches, and it looked like Seth was kind of looking for him, like on 3rd downs for conversions. Obviously, tight end has been a big part of this offense the past couple of years, so happy with you just how he played.
Yeah, I'm pleased. Everybody always talks about, I think someone asked about the progression of our tight ends. Hey, who's the next guy in line at that tight end room? Because we've used them in our system. And again, it goes back for my 8 years here. I think every single play we've always lined up with 1 tight end on the field in some form or fashion. And those third downs, with them playing majority quarters, they rolled 3 weak a little bit and so I think we were able to find some of those seams and sit down in some of the zone stuff, especially with those safeties bailing, pressing the corners. So I think that's where it naturally was. So Seth did a nice job going through his progression and hitting the Lanfair, and he did a great job catching the ball, holding on to it, and he did a pretty nice job blocking. We got to continue to improve there.
How well did you do the little things throughout on all three levels? I know it's not a perfect game, you can never get a perfect game, but how well did you do the little things?
Yeah, I think let's start with the defense. I thought they did because I thought they communicated well. It was an up-tempo offense that did a variety of things. And I think, Terry, anytime you go into that second game, there's still unknowns. And we knew with what had happened the week before, there was going to be something different, right? I mean, I'm not going to talk about what happened to them last week, but, man, they were going to come out and do something a little bit differently. And so credit to our defense to be able to go out there and communicate and do what they did. Special teams, I thought, played clean and did the little things the right way. There's a couple of those. It was a left-footed punter. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Most people had no idea. Left-footed punter, and just the communication. Sometimes maybe we could have picked up the ball. Those are the things we'll continue to look at. And then offense, I don't think we did exactly what we needed to the right way to play as efficient as we want. And you can sit there and say, well, Ryan, you guys put 30-something points on that. But reality is we can play a lot cleaner on offense. So, Terry, I think tonight I'm going to watch that film and say, here's a little thing. It may have been a left guard on this play. I think if I'm going to go back and what I can recall from the game, it was every play, one player. Now, I'll always put the blame on me for play calling and not putting us in the right situation. But I think we're going to say, okay, second play, it was a left guard. Third play, it was a Z wide receiver. Fourth play, the center. Fifth play, the quarterback. And so I think it was a combination of guys. If we can get all 11 on offense, those are little things but can be catastrophic and to have success.
In previous seasons, the defense has been kind of a bend and don't break type where it just gets stops, but a lot of movement, sustained drives by the opponent's offense. This year, it feels like this defense is inserting its will a little bit more aggressive, more 3 and outs, takeaways like we talked about tonight. But does that change the way the offensive play call is made? Does that change the way you guys?
We've got confidence in our defense. It's twofold because I sit there and think about, like, there are some that we've talked analytics in here before, and some of these analytic things said, hey, on 4th and 3, you should go for it. And I'm sitting there saying, our defense is playing really well, so I was actually more conservative because as good as our defense was playing. And so you get a feel for that as the game goes on, but have great faith in them. So then you'd say, well, Ryan, why wouldn't you be more aggressive if the defense is playing so well? But it all depends on score and situation in the game. But we've got great faith and great trust. And look, there's going to be a game where the offense is going to have to carry the team. Right? We know there's going to be a game where special teams is, but the defense is playing at a really high level. And I think with them, whether the word's aggressive or not, they are doing some things and imposing the will. But it's 1 week at a time. We know we're going to face a different offense next week, and then a different offense after that. So the biggest thing on defense to do that stuff is how consistent can you be, and look, all 3 phases. But I think that's part of it. We're going to rely. Coach Krams and I always talk about, hey, what's the defense doing? What are we thinking? And then I'm on both sides of the ball talking about, hey, we're going to be more aggressive here, or we're going to do this. And so that does have a little bit of effect on it, but not always what you think, right? I was more conservative tonight, especially in the second half, given the score, than we probably would have been as well as the defense was
Are you
playing.
comfortable with the amount of snaps that your defensive players are playing in terms of kind of getting them some breath?
So you're saying not enough or too many?
No, I'm saying make sure they're fresh. Are you comfortable with?
Well, so last week I think our highest defensive guy played 32 snaps. This week I don't know what the total number was. We're trying to keep them fresh, right? If you guys saw, prime example, Jalen Allen. Andreas Fox was a name that did some good things and was able to step up and go in. Derek Hunter's name we really didn't talk about last week, but then came in tonight and had 2 sacks in the second half. So we want to keep them as fresh as we can. It's the most important game is the one that we just played, and then the next one. So I'm not in their game sitting there saying, okay, let's get a rep count on these guys, but we're smart with our rotation. I think going back to that word, Frank, of depth allows us to be. Now, tonight I may look and say, oh my gosh, player X played 84 plays, including special teams. A short week, let's be smart with him and how we're handling the bodies. We're using a little bit more sports science than we've ever done. I got great faith in our strength and conditioning and our athletic trainers to make sure we're doing that stuff. So I do look at it. They also have these catapult, these GPS so we can tell high-speed mileage, how many yards they got. I wear this Apple Watch so I can tell my short but how many times I walked up and down the sideline. Nobody cares how many steps I got. So we pay attention to their rep count. But But I do think we did a nice job, credit to the defense staff, by rotating a lot of the guys.
Blake had 20 carries. Is that he's the number one running back thing, or is that a game flow, game plan thing?
Yeah, I think a game flow, game plan, right? He did get the start, and I think we're all pleased with what Blake Watson's able to do. Sometimes who's got the hot hand? And, Jay Ducker ripped off some nice runs, that he wasn't even able to play last week, and he was able to be a two-phase starter on special teams and then break off some nice first down runs. But pleased with what Blake's able to do. It's just, was that the hot hand at the time or whatever it was, and just, the trust. And sometimes it's the ebbs and flows of a game, right? Sometimes we're able to sustain first downs. If you go 3 and out and then we're back on the field, let's go and put the same guy back in.
It seemed like offensively, a lot of different guys are playing. Seth's starting to a lot of different receivers. There's different running backs. Are you happy with just the depth and also the sort of diversity of different options you have offensively?
Absolutely. It's a long season, Jonah, and so, that's part of it. I think just being able to have multiple guys, I've been here where, 2 years ago in this game, you guys remember, it was the Calvin Austin show, right? And Brandon Thomas run the ball. Are they going to bring those safeties up? And they're playing the 3-3. Let's find the ways to get Calvin Austin. So it was like, hey, those are your two weapons. And we've been pat before where, hey, keep handing the ball off to Darrell Henderson. And so it is nice to have multiple weapons because there's a variety of things we have to be able to do. I think you guys got to see tonight. We lined up in 21 personnel. We did some last week with Sutton at wide receiver, but then you guys tonight got to see true 21 personnel with 2 running backs in the backfield, 2 guys that are capable of carrying it. And then we also lined up in some 21 with a true fullback. Old school. Now we got our teeth kicked in short yards, and that's what I'm really disappointed in more than anything. I thought our short yards and goal line offense was terrible. That starts with me and up front what we got to be able to do. But yes, the depth we talked about all night. I think that's going to, in all 3 phases, going to be huge for us.